You tried to lecture us. You tried to lecture us about the rule of law.
Poland is number one with unemployment. Poland is number one, Eurostat, it's your data, not ours, is number one as the safest place in Europe.
We don't want Sharia law in Europe.
Okay,
I am the member. Let me finish.
having Muslims in your country.
Dominic Tarczynski is one of the strongest politicians today. He confronts woke agendas head-on, exposing the leftist hypocrisy that threatens his nation. Tarczynski speaks the hard truth about illegal immigration and its real impact on society. He doesn't hide his stance, doesn't soften his words, and isn't afraid to say what others won't. For Tarczynski, his people come first, always. His commitment to Poland is unwavering, and he's willing to challenge anyone who stands in the way. In today's video, I've gathered Dominic Tarczynski's best moments taking on woke leftists and exposing their empty arguments. Watch as he dismantles their points one by one, leaving them speechless and scrambling for answers. Here's the first clip.
Dear leftists, dear so-called rule of law lovers, it's been 365 days since Qatargate exploded. And what have you done? Nothing. What have you done about vaccination scandal in European Commission? Nothing. Oh, sorry, you've done a lot. You've been attacking Polish government for 8 years. For 8 years. You tried to lecture us. You tried to lecture us about the rule of law. Rule of what? Rule of corruption. That's what it is. It's your people who were arrested. You trying to lecture Mr. Trump, Mr. Bolsonaro, Mr. Milei. You're trying to lecture the whole world, conservative world, about the rule of law. And your people are arrested for corruption. You have no right to lecture us. You have no right to telling us what the democracy is. You have no right to tell me what the rule of law is. That is why I promise we're going to fight your leftism ideology until the final victory. So help me God.
Dominic Tarczynski hit the nail on the head. The so-called defenders of rule of law in Europe have no ground to stand on. For a year, Qatargate has exposed corruption at the highest levels. Yet these same elites have done absolutely nothing to address it. But they still have the audacity to lecture nations like Poland on democracy and rule of law. Hypocrisy doesn't even begin to cover it. He's right to call them out. They attack conservative leaders, Trump, Bolsonaro, Meloni, and constantly lecture them on integrity and governance, while their own people sit at the center of corruption scandals. It's the height of arrogance, and it's clear Tarczynski is tired of it. And he's not alone.
Historically, Poland has had far more problems with Christians than they have had with Muslims, haven't they? Have Muslims been involved in partitions, death camps, invasions in Poland?
No. As you know, our King Sobieski stopped Muslims in Vienna. So that's the very huge achievement in the history of Polish history.
Okay, so
if not King Sobieski,
in the 18th century, Poland was partitioned 3 times. Was it by Muslim powers?
You know what Hijra means.
And I'm saying you want to talk about Vienna. What I'm saying is, okay, if we want to go to history, Poland was partitioned 3 times. Was it done by Muslim powers? Dominic?
No, what I'm saying is, this war of civilization, as I call it, is just a fact. Okay. I'm not going to
those are the
Iraq,
words
I'm
also
not going
of the shooter in
Saudi
Christchurch.
Arabia. I'm not going to Iran.
The shooter in Christchurch in his manifesto said he's fighting this war of civilization as well.
Condemn
against Muslims that he can't name that are all against him.
I know. Okay, but how many terror attacks? How many terror attacks were committed by Christians in the name of the religion? How many were them were shouting Christ is the Lord? Okay. None. 0. And every single committed by the Muslim is followed by Allah Akbar.
Yes,
that's the fact.
Okay,
and the difference
but this
between
is, again,
criminals,
it's the association you're making with,
is that they are not committing it in the name of the faith.
Can I go back to your agreements with Brussels, or you're being a part of the club, right? So as an outsider looking in, as Poland being a member of the European Union, when it came to the quotas, so the European Union said, okay, guys, we're all in the same club together. There's a refugee crisis, right? And we need to have quotas, we need to share the burden. From the outside looking in, it looked as if, with Poland, it was as if everybody had agreed to go out to dinner and split the bill. Everybody went out to dinner, everybody ate, but at the end, hold on. At the end, Poland said, oh no, I'm not paying because I took my other friend out for lunch earlier and I paid. I brought in Ukrainian migrants. I brought in 2 million. So I don't want to be a part of this burden. Why do you guys stay a part of this club if you so fundamentally disagree with the Germans and the others on absolutely everything? Why do you bother?
Because Germany and Russians, they want to drink Dom Perignon and they want us to drink water. That is the difference. So if they want us to have a lunch together and split the bill, they have to eat the same thing and they drink the same thing. The club means that we are equal. We have the same rights and the same duties. But it doesn't work this way. Germany asked for a deal with Russians. I'm talking about Nord Stream 2. French, they are selling Mistrals to Russia. They are making a business. They don't care about our safety. And then they want us to pay the bill. It doesn't work this way. It's not going to work this way. We will never agree for the deals with the Russians and not saying anything. Right. So if they want solidarity, if they want to have this club with us as a partners, they have to behave like a partners. Mistrals from France and Nord Stream 2 are the symbols. Obviously, there is much more to be given as an example. So, first of all, it's not us who started this madness. It's Germany who started.
Right.
Angela Merkel was looking for cheap labor, so she found out that they want to work, that they want to contribute to this society by their taxes. They don't want to learn language. And then she decided, okay, so let's spread them around. Let's say that this is our responsibility, not mine. And then we're going to get rid of this problem. No. We're not going to take any of those. It's not our war. It's not our colony. We never had any colonies in our history. So we want to be a partner. We want to be equal partner with the same rights and the same duties. That's why I keep repeating, not even one illegal will come to Poland ever.
Tarczynski takes a powerful stand here, and he's absolutely right. For years, countries like Germany and France have tried to impose their problems on other EU members, expecting nations like Poland to simply pay up and follow orders. But why should Poland be held responsible for the failed policies of these so-called EU leaders? Tarczynski's point is clear. Poland won't foot the bill for the mistakes of others. Poland didn't have colonies, it didn't build its economy on exploiting other nations, and it refuses to take in migrants forced upon it by the misguided policies of Merkel or Macron. And let's address the obvious here. When it comes to illegal immigration, Poland sees the consequences clearly. Unlike other EU nations that suffer from rising crime and communities isolated by language and culture barriers, Poland maintains its national identity and its safety by refusing to bow to these pressure tactics. Tarczynski is simply saying what every nation should be saying. Respect us, treat us as equals, or we're not interested in playing your game.
Thank you, Madam President. Obviously, this mechanism is just a political tool, so I'm not going to get into it, because everyone knows that this is a political tool. It has nothing to do with the rule of law. So I'd like to give you a message from the majority of Polish people. The message is very clear. It has been out loud 7 times in a row. Polish nation rejected your ideas. Polish nation rejected your ideas of leftism. So you have lost 7 times. Mr. Biedroń would confirm you have lost. Polish society rejected you 7 times. So to let you know, Poland is number 1 with unemployment. Poland is number 3 with management for women. And Poland is number 1, Eurostat, it's your data, not ours, is number 1 as the safest place in Europe. So before you're going to judge, just before you're going to point us with your finger, maybe you should think about Sweden and the rapes on women by illegal migrants. Maybe you should focus on Germany, which is number 1 with all these crimes coming over from illegal migrants instead of Poland. This is real democracy, and this is not our data, this is Eurostat. Thank you.
Dominik Tarczynski is right to call out this so-called rule of law mechanism for what it truly is, a political weapon. The EU elites keep pushing their leftist agendas onto countries like Poland, expecting them to simply comply without question. But Tarczynski doesn't mince words. Poland has rejected these ideas loudly and clearly not once, but 7 times in a row. That's real democracy, a nation choosing its path rather than submitting to unelected bureaucrats in Brussels.
Many years. 8. How do you explain that you were not able to get through the prevention measures and upholding, while you blame it on those who wanted you to uphold the Polish laws?
That was a very good question. Thank you for that. We already built the infrastructure, protecting flood infrastructure, but we had so many protests. And we are finding out that these protests were financed by the eco-terrorists. Germans. They tried to bribe people in Poland to protest against our infrastructure. And that is the fact. We found out yesterday about it. On the other side, we have a government now. We have Mr. Tusk, who went out on Friday and he says, oh, weather is not so bad. So if you're asking us what is happening and why there is so much damage, it's because of Tusk and his party, not about infrastructure. That is a fact. Thank you very much.
Tarczynski makes a strong point here, calling out the hypocrisy of those who question Poland's infrastructure efforts while actively working to undermine them. His argument is clear. Poland has tried to build protective infrastructure, but so-called eco-activists, funded by outsiders like Germany, have been sabotaging these efforts. This isn't just political meddling. It's blatant interference in Poland's ability to protect its own people.
Now, the EU decided that this refugee welcoming was very important and a positive development for Europe, all of Europe. And they looked down on people like you and Poland in general for its decision to say, no, we have to support and protect our culture, which does not include, the Wahhabist Islamic outlook and Wahhabist policies and traditions. And you say?
We don't care. Well, there's a difference between a refugee and a migrant, especially illegal migrant. As a lawyer, I'm trying to repeat it every single time for years now. They are not refugees, they are criminals. Those who are trying to cross the border illegally are criminals, and as a criminal should be deported, and there is no discussion about it. Our policy is very straight. Zero. Not even one, never ever will come to Poland if it's illegal. If he's trying to cross our border illegally, he will be punished and deported, not welcomed as we heard. We're not going to pay for them. We're not going to fit them in beautiful rooms in hotels or anywhere else. They will not stay on Polish soil. They will not stay in Poland. Poland, as I said in the parliament, and I'm trying to repeat it, Poland is the only country in the European Union without any terror attack. We haven't had any terror attacks in Poland because there is no illegal migration. That's why every single time I'm trying to say, be like Poland, be brave, believe in your own nations. But most of these spineless politicians in here, in Brussels, are destroying their own countries. I must say, Mr. Trump was right about the wall. He built a beautiful wall. Can you imagine America now without a wall? Poland built a wall. We have a great wall, and no one is able to enter. No one is able to come to Poland. And as we promised, our government promised in 2015, not even one will come to Poland ever.
Well, Dominic, you will continue to support allowing Ukrainian refugees, genuine refugees, into Poland during this war, correct?
Well, you have to remember that our situation is completely different than America, than Americans. We are a neighboring country with Ukraine, and by the international law, those who came to Poland, over 2 million, mainly women and children, are honest, genuine refugees. But our law was changed for some time to support them financially, support them with education, with the healthcare, and all they need to live in Poland. But for many reasons, recently Mr. Zelensky seems very ungrateful, I must say, and our law might be changed. We don't have to support them with all these benefits, like financial support. We don't have to do it. We wanted to do it. We decided to do it, but we don't have to do it anymore.
Tarczynski makes a powerful case against the EU's misguided refugee policies. He draws a clear distinction between genuine refugees and illegal migrants, and he doesn't back down from calling them what they are, criminals. This honesty is refreshing in a political landscape filled with lies and deception. Poland has every right to protect its culture and its people, and Tarczynski states that with conviction. The EU may look down on Poland for refusing to blindly accept migrants, but Poland stands strong in its values. The fact is that Poland remains free from terror attacks largely because it has the guts to enforce its borders.
Are you objecting to refugees from Syria because they're not Christian or because they shouldn't be in Poland? Which one? You seem to offer different excuses at different times.
You have to apply. Polish law is very clear about it. Submit your documents, apply for a visa, get us the criminal back check, and then we're going to decide. We are not forced by any law to agree for that. It's the same in America. Even if you have a visa and you're trying to enter U.S., you still might hear, no, you're not allowed. And there's no explanation. No one from U.S. side, they don't have to really explain it.
That might
they
make
don't have
some
to
sense.
say why you're not allowed.
That might
it's the
make
same
some
with
sense
us.
if you said,
so first
if you
of all,
hadn't
from the
said,
legal path, you
we
have
will
to
not
apply
receive
for your
even
visa.
one Muslim.
That's,
if you hadn't bragged about the fact that you don't have mosques in Poland. I mean, it sounds like you don't want them there because you're anti-Muslim and anti-Islam.
Okay, so let me go from the legal path to the society. So legally, you have to apply, and legally, you're allowed to apply, and this is up to us if we agree to have you in Poland. That's number one. Then our society, our structure. I keep repeating that in many mosques, we can hear about hijrah. For us, homogenic society, Christian society is a value. For me, multicultural society, it's not a value. I used to live in London. I used to live there for 5 years. I used to work in US, and I see the fruits of multiculturalism. For me, it's not a virtue. For me, it's not a value. So we have a right to think about our future in a way we want to. So Christian culture, Roman law, Greek philosophers, these are the virtues for us.
It's funny
That's
that you mention.
one.
It's funny that you
Number
mention.
two,
Can I jump in
we
1
don't
second?
want Sharia law in Europe.
Okay.
I'm the member. Let me finish.
Having
Let me
Muslims in your
finish.
country doesn't mean you have Sharia law. You mentioned London. The mayor of London is a Muslim. There's no Sharia law. Let me ask you this. You mentioned London. Some would say it's hypocritical that you don't want Muslims in Poland because
No,
hold on, let me finish my
places
question.
where the Sharia is present.
Let me finish the question. Many would say it's hypocritical that you say you don't want Muslim immigrants in your country because they commit crimes, there's a security threat, and yet you hear exactly the same rhetoric about Polish immigrants in the UK from right-wing politicians and media there. They say the Poles are groping women, they're feckless, they're criminals, they won't integrate. Don't you see the irony or the hypocrisy of treating Muslim immigrants to Poland in the same way that some Britons treat Polish immigrants?
Okay, how many Poles blow themselves up in London or any other place in the world? That's the question I keep repeating.
There is a lot of crime carried out by Polish immigrants, according to the right-wing press.
Kill themselves and others because of their religion or hatred.
Dominic, your argument doesn't work. Just last month in the UK...
The question was very specific.
I'm answering your question.
How many of them blowed themselves up?
Okay. Let me answer your question in this way. A Polish immigrant was charged with the rape and murder of a British student last month. How would you feel if people in the UK started saying, we don't want Poles here anymore. We don't want rapists and murderers here. That's what you say about Muslims. You generalise about all Muslims in the same way that some on the right in the UK generalise about Poles. There's a lot of anti-Polish racism in the UK. Do you not see the irony that you're doing the same thing to Muslims as is done to Poles?
No. No. First of all, if anyone committing a crime should be jailed. It doesn't matter. Is it Polish, is it English, or anyone else? That's number one. Crimes which you mentioned are not committed in the name of Allah.
What's that got to do with
the Polish side?
I thought we were talking about security.
Of Christ.
Who cares?
They are just criminals.
We're talking about security threats.
Dominic Tarczynski makes a compelling case here, and it's refreshing to hear someone stand firmly against the absurd notion that Poland should accept migrants who don't fit its cultural fabric. He emphasizes that Poland has the right to control its borders and decide who enters based on its laws, not on pressure from the EU or any other international entity. Tarczynski rightly points out the difference between genuine refugees and illegal migrants. When he talks about the legal process, submitting documents, and getting vetted, he underscores a fundamental principle of any nation's sovereignty. Why should Poland have to compromise its values for anyone else's agenda? The debate about multiculturalism is critical. Tarczynski's experiences in places like London inform his skepticism. He has seen the negative impacts of forced diversity and multiculturalism that often erodes local cultures.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear leftists, I'm very happy to take part in this debate about democracy in Europe. So let me give you some example of very major democracy in Poland, over 1,000 years of tradition of Polish nation. Polish nation rejected you, dear leftists, 8 times. 8 times in a row you have lost elections in Poland. So get used to it, because you're going to lose again. That's number one. Let me give you some data about Poland and Polish democracy. The lowest unemployment in European Union is Poland. The highest GDP after COVID in European Union is Poland. One of the lowest debts in European Union is Poland. So don't give us this rubbish about the need of educated immigration, as we heard yesterday. We don't need your doctors. We don't need your engineers. Take them all and pay for them. We don't need them. You know why? Because there is zero terrorist attacks in Poland. Why? Because there is no illegal migration in Poland. So don't give me this look. Don't give me these arguments about the populism, because this is a fact. This is your data from Eurostat. So we don't need your engineers. We don't need your doctors. Take them. Do not teach us. Do not teach us about democracy, because we know what the democracy is. So learn from Poland. Be like Poland. Thank you very much.
Dominic Tarczynski's comments hit the nail on the head. He makes it clear that the so-called leftists in Europe need to wake up to reality. Poland has repeatedly rejected their agenda, and there's a strong reason for that. 8 electoral defeats should send a message. The Polish people value their traditions and sovereignty over imported ideologies that only serve to undermine their way of life. Tarczynski's emphasis on Poland's achievements is vital. The country boasts the lowest unemployment among women in the EU and a booming GDP post-COVID. Those facts speak volumes.
Do you understand why the EU is concerned?
Well, basically because they cannot kiss us in our forehead like Mr. Juncker used to kiss Donald Tusk. They cannot clap us on the shoulder and say, you're good. They cannot really do the Nord Stream 2 with Russia without our comments. They cannot make businesses as they used to do. Now in Poland, we have the lowest unemployment in history within 26 years. We have a growth which was never seen in the newest history of Poland. That's official data. So it's all about politics. It's all about doing the business in Poland, being drilled in a way. Poland was just a land of business for many European influences, politicians as well. And it's not the way we want to have a Poland. We want to have a strong, proud Poland. These are not empty words. We want to be partners. We are very open for the discussion. We want to be within the European Union. We don't want to leave the European Union. We are not populists, nationalists, but we don't want to be treated like small children. And we want to be a partner, and we want to be listened. No one really spoke to us. No one really asked us about anything. Mr. Timmermans didn't ask the Venice Commission. He just go out and give his opinions, political opinions. As I said, he never mentioned any paragraph. And he's not even elected. And he's trying to tell me about the rule of law. More respect. And think about it. We want to be the part of this family, but respect us.
Dominic Tarczynski makes a strong case for Polish sovereignty and the need for mutual respect within the European Union. He rightly points out the hypocrisy of EU leaders who once treated Poland like a subordinate. Poland is no longer a pawn in their games, and that frustrates them. The EU's concerns stem from their inability to control Poland as they did in the past. Poland has achieved remarkable economic success, boasting the lowest unemployment in history. That isn't just a number. It reflects the hard work and determination of the Polish people. The EU often forgets that Poland is a partner, not a child to be scolded.